afternoon, everyone. My name's Stephanie Weber, and this is a Show Me How podcast.
And I'm John Skuris, her co-host.
The co-host of the Show Me How podcast. Today, your condos and understanding the condos, condo associations, your homeowners associations, do's and don'ts when you buy a condo, and understanding all that has to do with a condo is not just your structure within the building, but what goes along with owning a condo or a townhome.
And how to deal with all those crazy people on the board, right?
What?
How to deal with all the crazy people on the board?
We don't. The interesting characters that like to be on the board is what John is trying to say. And understanding the complexities of it. I think it's really important before you buy a condo, like people ask, this is just an example of a deal I just did. Like, what's the reserve? Why is that important? Right.
Well, that's a critical one. Actually.
Right. And a lot of people don't even understand what's the reserve for. Well, it's say like in this instance, the hot water tank was for the entire building. It broke. The reserve should cover the repairs or replacement of it and not escalate to a special assessment for the condo owner. So that's kind of like the things that we delve into and want to really have that people understand is that it's not just your unit and how the whole building functions as a unit together with your unit.
Yeah, I mean, what we're talking about here is condo association and HOA fees. So if you're in a housing structure, housing organization, it's a bunch of homes put together where they have an agreement similar to a condo agreement put together, and they have rules and requirements, but they also have fees associated with them. So
Right.
what are those fees? What are those structures? How often do you have to pay them? Those things are important to understand. And then as Stephanie was getting into kind of the specifics of the nuances of this, when you're going to buy a condo, you want to know the special assessment. Is there a special assessment? I had a friend buying into a high-rise downtown Chicago in Gold Coast. He was getting it for an amazing rate, and it's a penthouse. And it was wonderful, but his condo association fees were more than his mortgage. You know, they were $1,000 a month. And on top of it, they had a special assessment, which the condo association has the control over and the authority to create a mortgage on your behalf.
Yes.
As part of the condo association. And it's a 7-year, I think this is common. I don't know. This is my second time I've heard 7 years, so I think it might be
Depending
common.
on what it is.
It was a pretty big one. It was, I think it was $1.5 million for between 100 condo owners
For
over
the
7
elevators?
years. No, it was windows, entire window replacement.
That's a big one in the older condo buildings on Sheridan Road and in the Gold Coast. You know, things you can ask and people will say, well, I'm not aware of any special assessments coming up, but get the minutes from the meetings and are they talking about it? You know, is there chatter about a special assessment? Then you could also put that into your negotiation for the condo because you can say, well, the condo association is talking about a special assessment. Might not be right now, but there's chatter about it. Use that as a leverage for you.
Yeah, if you can get that information.
Right.
I haven't said in too many of these meetings. I work on deconversions of condos primarily because I'm in commercial. But you do get a sense of what's going on, and you really need to understand when you're looking at a property for residential. You know, my son's going to be looking at one. Stephanie's daughter, Riley, just bought one. And what is the condo association agreement? Read it.
Yep.
You know, sit down, go over this thing. What's your recommendation on how to do that?
To get set aside 30
Pro tip.
minutes. Get
30
a glass,
minutes, yeah, if
30
you're
minutes
lucky.
at least. Get a glass of wine and some stickies and go over it. But the documents that you'll go over is the CC&R, which is covenants, conditions, and restrictions for the homeowners association, the bylaws, the rules and regulations for like daily life enforcement. You know, there's certain things that you might, as a new person in a condo, might not know, right? So you think, oh, my mom gave me this cute doormat. I'm going to put it out in front of my condo, and it's about kitties or whatever. And there might be a restriction on
No
that.
cat restriction.
No cat. there might be a restriction on that. So
Well,
you get a warning letter or a little sticky from your neighbor
or a fine.
or a fine.
Right.
But usually you get a passive aggressive warning from someone in the building before the association. We don't allow for doormats like that now.
Or wind chimes.
Or
I like wind chimes. You know, every
I
time
do
a
too. But
bell rings,
I
another
think the
angel's
key
born.
part of living in a condo, though, people who have been there a long time tend to think they're the police of
the
the
moral
condo.
majority.
No, just
of the
the
condo.
people that have been there a long time, I think, from my experience on the residential side. And those are the people you need to kind of get to be friendly with, because they can make your life a little bit difficult if they constantly are leaving you love notes about what you can and cannot do.
Yeah, I've
So
friend that's going through that now.
it's really important to access the board minutes, the budget, and attend the meetings and appeals, because that is, as an owner, that's what you're entitled to. And you don't have to get in conflict with your neighbor. That is kind of should be handled at the board level, like any kind of grievance, any kind of
right.
thing to take to
Yeah,
the
they're
board.
not allowed technically.
Right.
Technically, they're not allowed.
So it's
to
you don't have to respond to
intervene in your
a
life.
neighbor's love note to you.
Well, you should take it, follow it with the rules and responsibilities
Right.
of the condo association. So, to your point about sitting down and reading them, you really need to, go over those. Sometimes people want their attorney to review them,
Right.
but they could be long and tedious documents. But, if you're going to be living amongst these documents, you're bound by them once you buy a condo. So you need to spend the time to do it.
Exactly. Exactly.
What are you entitled to as an owner? How do you avoid conflict and how do you deal with it? They're going to be typically, not always, there's going to be mechanisms for handling conflict and things
Right.
like this. So you got to read and figure out what those are. You have to email the board president. Sally keeps banging on my door. She's yelling at me about this, but as I understand it, I can have the carpet or whatever. Just find out what the procedures are to make everybody's life easier. And then you educate the person who's violating those rules.
Exactly.
Get a copy of the page where it says you can't come knock on my door for a complaint. Give it to them kindly with a muffin.
Try to be as confrontational.
Or do like me and Dean, her brother, and
Dean.
never live in a condo because we
Never
would not. It would not work.
Yeah.
We're not condoites.
Well, they have no sense of rules and regulations, so they barely can live on the planet, let alone in a condo.
Hey.
So, going back to your responsibilities as a condo owner, what are some of the examples of what you're supposed to be doing as a condo owner?
Examples.
Like you pay your dues,
Oh, yeah.
you comply with the rules,
Yeah.
you keep
just follow the rules.
contact information up to date. Some of the things that, like John said, that you don't really think about, but like hanging plants on a balcony could be not allowed, because what if it's super windy in Chicago and the plant goes flying off? And
usually these things, in my experience, have been brought up because somebody had an experience, right?
Right.
At that particular building, because the condo association rules and regulations differ drastically. Somebody got hit by a plant at that building. So now they have the do not have any hanging plant rule, whereas right across the street where 10 plants fell but nobody got hit, they don't have the same rule. So, yeah, it's all relative to the particular environment.
it's all relative.
Moving into the moving in,
Right.
Stephanie's daughter, Riley, who was with us earlier in the podcast series, she moved up her furniture in the front hallway first, right out of the gate.
The gate.
Right out of the
that
gate.
was a
Did not
big
read
no-no.
the condo association rules, and it's a $700 fine.
Yes.
$700.
They let her out of it because there was a first time, I guess, slap on the wrist. But
your first
needless
DUI.
to say, her appliances came up the back stairs.
Oh, it's just funny.
So there is a lot. Like a condo is a great thing, though. I think, John says he can never live there, which we know, but, make sure that you attend your first meeting. I mean, they send out meeting notices to everyone. That's why you have to keep your
Well,
contact
wait.
information.
You're
What?
taking it for granted. They do not send out. So there's lots of dysfunctional condo associations and HOAs. I want to lay that out there first and foremost. They do not follow the rules. There are rules that are not being followed. So you got to get into your environment and figure out what's going on. Legally, are they supposed to? Absolutely. Do they? Look, you're going to walk in as people are humans. They get voted onto a board. They're like all the best intentions in the world, and
Right.
they just don't get done. So you got to figure out your kind of what you're walking into. Is this the apocalypse now of condo associations, or or is it a nice, happy,
Kumbaya, have
Mrs.
coffee and
Mr.
donuts.
Beaver
Yeah.
environment? Right.
Yeah.
So I
So
think
you have to
assess.
definitely, you can make sure your contact information is updated though. That's one thing that people will say, well, I never found out, but then they didn't update their email. They didn't update their information. And when you first move in, reach out to the president, say, I want to come to the next meeting, make sure they know that you're interested in attending. And that's, where you go and you say, hi, I'm new here. And listen to what's going on. You'll figure out pretty
for the
quickly
fights.
if this is just a circle, we go in circles, or we actually get things done. So,
And some are so small, like a 3-person
right.
condo building, maybe 6. They don't really need to do much, and they may not even meet every month.
Right.
So it may not be a big deal. But then you may have one that's just
Like 500 units. Yeah.
People are older and they have this is their social life, and they literally want the condo association to be a big part of their life. You're like, no. So you got to figure that out too. And by the way, just a tip for pro tip Stephanie came up with, which I really like, so I'm going to bring it up. Like you were saying, they have meetings. Well, they may or may not. They also may or may not update their condo bylaws, or they may pass stuff and not tell you.
Right.
Document everything, because if and when you're going to sell this place or pass it on to somebody else, loved one or whatever, have a folder and store all this information. Store it in a nice folder with a digital folder.
Yeah.
With your notices in one folder, your letters in another folder, your legal disputes, which will definitely have it in another folder, and then your approvals in another folder, so
Right.
that you can pass it on to everyone. And so you have the latest version of the bylaws. I'm working on a deal with a 1998 building that was converted into a condo in 1998. And when you look at the condo bylaws, first of all, they're like 120 pages. I'm like, oh my gosh. But then
You might need 2 glasses of wine then.
it looks like it's hand typed by somebody, I'm like, what? Did we not have computers back in 98? What was going on back then? At least these people. So it's all scattered. There's addendums, and there's just like multiple addendums and clauses. So just getting through that was tedious. And then they add on top of that.
Right.
And so there's other stuff they build in on top of it. And if you don't have the latest version, and then we went to the condo association president, who's like just doing their best, and they may not even have all the content. So just tracking this content down is
Right.
important. Now, the city of Chicago does store condo association bylaws, in your city, wherever you are, may have a requirement for that.
Right.
So when we were running into trouble with getting some of the documents, we did have some content around that. So, or not content, we had ability to try and track it other ways. But you may have difficulty getting condo docs in, and I work on big commercial buildings, right? So we're talking 10 plus residents to up 100 to 600.
Right.
So my deals are a little bit more complicated than the typical residential ones.
But that goes back to like those big condo buildings on Sheridan, like I'm talking Chicago, but
Yeah.
on Sheridan Road, and really understanding that. And for any building that does have a condo board, it's really important, once you see what's going on, and say there's been a manager that's been there for 20 years, to me that's a red flag, because
Manager,
that's
what do you
kind
mean,
of like
president, condo president or something?
that's been there for 20
yeah,
years.
somebody on the board that's been there forever.
Yeah, so you want to volunteer for the board then. Definitely get your foot in the door, volunteer, because you want to have a say in what they're spending the money on. You want to definitely understand it, question it. They could be going with their friend's cousin's nephew to do the concrete, and it's 3 times more than if you really got it done.
Well, I mean, that can't typically happen. These people can infuse themselves and get into trouble doing that. In a smaller condo association, they could probably pull in their
Right.
little scams. I guess that's true. I'm thinking about the bigger deals where, you'll have people that, to Stephanie's point, that have been in this building for 20, 30 years.
Right, and they really
want it to
yeah.
run a particular way. My customer bought a condo restaurant club in a building. It's a condo building, and he is the commercial condo of it. But these people are trying to impact him because they didn't want change. They liked it empty, vacant, and not earning money. But the bylaws protected him, so he got in there. But now anything he needs, these people can be difficult with.
Right.
So to Stephanie's point, the first contact board meeting is critical. Then getting in there, how you encourage and communicate with these people, be respectful.
Yes.
Proactive engagement with the board and finding out, I come out of Fortune 100 consulting, right? And one of the things we would do when we're selling to a board is you profile the key decision makers. And I'd say the same thing applies to a condo board. Who are the squeaky wheels? Who are the people that get action and take action and get it done?
Right.
And who are the people that are just burning time, and their fuse? And try and identify those characters, put them in boxes, and then address them and leverage them as appropriate to make sure you could get what you want. Do you want to be on a condo association? If you're a bigger building, it's work.
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to want to do it? But to Stephanie's point also, my customer had bought into this building. It's the same building, about a residential unit in it, and they had a $1 million special assessment coming up just as they were coming in. So looking for those special assessments.
Right.
But then knowing and having confidence that they are doing the right thing.
Exactly.
We're getting the right windows, because whatever windows that association or doors or, communication systems or plumbing or whatever they are doing, you have to abide by.
Exactly.
So you want to make sure there's a healthy environment. You want to participate at a level that's going to make sure any knowledge you have is going to come to the forefront. That could be the benefit of these kind of associations. You have
exactly
a big project. You have a lot of people that could work together to get it done better. So I'm only half kidding that it's always a nightmare, but you got to get involved. I think is going to be important.
Right. And, one of the things, like you said, just understanding the board, do a welcome email to the board, telling them you're new in the building, asking for the meeting minutes and also the calendar of meetings so you can attend if you're in town and it works out in your schedule.
This is all for the female people watching, because no man will do that.
No what?
No man's going to write a welcome email. This is
You
Stephanie's
sure are
female
going to write
touch.
a welcome email. How are you going to be nice to the board?
By showing up.
By showing
Going
up.
there.
Oh my God, he is too much. So the most common things we see that happen with the condo association and the condo owners for friction is why do people get fines? What should you do if this happens to you? I think this goes back to you can't play stupid in a condo. You gotta read the bylaws. You gotta understand them. You can't say, "Oh, I didn't see it." Well, we sent it to you and read it.
Yeah.
So that's not back in the day when you're in college or a young person. I didn't know. That's not gonna fly.
No, you have to be responsible and respectful of your neighbors. Now, again, there's some people that are difficult, but you just do your best to honor reasonable requests. And there's other things like pets, parking, noise, rental issues, cameras, and other types of modifications to your door. Like, this isn't a fraternity house.
Right.
Can't put pictures of your favorite dog up or dolphins.
One of the examples that we had is someone put a Ring camera in the hallway of a big condo building. You can't do that. That's creepy and weird.
Well, I mean, you can obviously do whatever you want unless it's in the condo association tax.
Right. So that triggered a $250 fine.
It was in there?
Yeah.
And they got 250. And okay, but that's not going to be everywhere, right? It should be probably, to your point, but it's probably not in all the condo docs. So,
right.
reading them and understanding them to avoid these things, or be your creepy self if you want.
Right. And if you're, you got to
Up to
write
watch your,
appeal,
neighbors.
you can write an appeal, how to do that, and then as John said, joining the board is definitely a time commitment. But then, it's kind of like the old adage that my dad used to say, if you don't get involved, you don't vote, then, really, then don't complain. So, how much time do you want to spend? How long do you plan on being there? If you see that there's a lot of special assessments coming up, I would jump in 2 feet, because I would want to make sure that, are we just fixing it to fix it, or do we have to replace it? Can we fix it? Is there a better option?
Right.
Just because someone says, oh, we need to buy 2 new, hot water tanks, it does not mean that you need to buy 2 new hot water tanks.
Right.
Look at all your options before you just start writing checks, so, and for you
Well,
young,
unless you're not participating, right? Then you're just
Right.
gonna have to write a check. So
Right.
it's a balance of how busy you are, obviously how much money you make, and how much you're willing to participate with
Exactly.
people who may frustrate you.
And there could be,
And do you want influence? I mean,
right.
do you want to influence this process, or do you just want to let bygones be bygones? It's up to you, I guess.
Right. And there is the pros is that you're insightful, you're transparent, you got all that. But there is drama. I mean, there could be drama, there's politics, there's
Oh,
time.
there's definitely drama.
So,
There's a lot to be said about participating.
right.
And again, I think it depends on the dynamics of it when you show up. And also I've seen in these bigger structures with 100 tenants that the boards change 100% in some cases, and it was a drastic shift. So what it was last year may not be what it is next year.
Right.
So paying attention to that is going to be important, because you could think everything's fine, and then you turn your head, you go away on vacation, you come back, there's a new board, and
And
your
they're
door's painted blue. So, again, another thing to pay attention to. You got to be on top of it. Have people in the system that are feeding you information. Make sure you request updated documentation probably once a year, formally, because didn't you say there's like a secret deal that could occur with stuff? Did you have some story like that?
some people also, dogs. We talked about pets, and people, lose it over certain dog breeds.
Yeah.
Be conscious of that. Even if your condo building allows dogs, don't let your dog run up and down the hallway, play fetch in the hallway,
In the hallway.
pee in the hallway. Those are things that will get people very upset.
Is this
And-
your strategies for peaceful coexistence?
Right, peaceful
That's
coexistence.
very nice. That's definitely.
Yeah, that's what you want to
helping you
do.
live a
Communicate in writing. Don't gossip either. Don't gossip about.
Are you forwarding this episode
Yeah.
right to Riley?
What?
After we record it? You forwarding this right to Riley after we record it?
We are. I
Yes.
always told her, don't gossip, and choose your battles wisely, for sure. Because, and if the hallways are a mess and they need to be cleaned, like there was an example, just ask the board, what's the cleaning schedule? Don't say the hallways
Well, you
are
should know
like
the cleaning
terrible
schedule,
and
yeah.
someone put trash all over the
Yeah.
place, and
I think, these are the things you do when you first move in. Your welcome email. What is the schedule? But you go to
I
the
like
first
my
meeting,
welcome
find
email.
out-
What's
I'm
that?
sure it's great. You go to the condo association and say, hey, what's the schedule? What's the cleaning? Those are all reasonable questions asked. They should actually have a document put together for the ease of all the tenants, in my well-organized mind, that goes out that shows you all this. Here's what our common area expenses are going to be for the year. Here's what they were last year. Here's what the special assessments we're considering are for the next year. Here's the cleaning schedule. It's going to stay this way. And by the way, there's probably in a lot of the buildings I work on, there's management companies that manage
Right.
the properties for you professionally. So I think, again, we're coming at it from two different perspectives.
no, there's management companies that do condo and residential
Yeah,
too.
there can be
Yeah.
Peak Properties. It's a
Right.
great guy who I know owns it, and it's a great company. And they do 3 flats and 2 flats for you. It's
Right.
a pretty reasonable fee. I think usually like 6% of your gross. and then they manage the property for you. So if you want to buy a commercial multifamily, off
Right.
you go, and they'll handle it all for you, and they do it very, very efficiently. But some of these bigger buildings, it's a little bit different, and they get taxed, and people get tired of working at buildings, and I've seen it where the building property manager doesn't like the tenants. They don't get along well with the
Well,
board.
because there's some, obviously, let's all
Friction,
be
yeah.
real. Like, there's some that are like calling for everything, right? And
There's also buildings that are problems, right? I mean,
Right.
the building I went to, this is not a joke, serious, in the Gold Coast. Went to the lower parking level, right? And it's
is
like
this a
2
swimming
blocks.
pool?
It's like a swimming pool, 2 blocks from the lake. But I don't know what it was. Still don't know, but it was scared the heck out of me. I'm kidding you. I go in, there's water coming in everywhere, all around all the walls. There's water everywhere. Like, oh yeah, nobody's like, this is alarming to no one. Everyone's like, oh yeah, watch out for the puddle. There's this guy. Guy had a Porsche, beautiful Porsche, parked in one of the spaces, and he had to have a rubber mat from a restaurant kitchen in front of his car door to get in his car, because otherwise he'd be tracking water into it every day. And they're like, this is like the normal way this building's operating. I'm like, what kind of dystopian reality are these people living in? But these buildings are so old. They've been there for
Right.
so long. They have terrible problems. They really need to be torn down.
Right.
Imagine that you're in a building 30, 40, 50 older, and the plumbing is failing. And
Right.
it's like $4 million to replace the plumbing.
Exactly.
So you better be careful. You got to watch out.
There's a lot of those up on Sheridan Road, too.
There's a lot.
Like, a lot of stuff.
Oh, by Hollywood?
Yeah.
Remember, we're talking to a global audience here. So
Yeah, I
can't be
mean,
too restricted.
if you're by any kind of water, you're in a older, I mean, let's be honest, like, look at the place in Miami that collapsed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that sent the whole condo market in Florida upside down, because now the reserves have to be 4 times, I don't even have the exact numbers, but so you had an HOA that was $900. Now it's $2,800.
Yeah.
So
a month. And if you see, like, in one of these bigger buildings like Miami, and you see one of the board members walking down the hallway and they're like this, blocking their vision from the crack in the structure, that's a warning sign.
That's a warning sign.
Do not get in on that condo.
Right. And then, another thing is in condos, and this is a real serious thing Riley ran into too, is quiet hours. There's quiet hours. You cannot
Really?
You cannot have deliveries
It's
before 9
The
a.m.
nanny world.
Any 9 a.m. And then if you want to have a party, I would, if I was in your unit, I would let my neighbors know that I would invite them and let them know that I'm having a party. So, so they don't get like weirded out or whatever.
Yeah, so some condos, my friend throws a huge St. Patrick's Day party, and it's a big building, hundreds of tenants, and they have a
like a party room.
Yeah. So you can lease that party room out, and that ends up being great. She had it at her unit 2 years ago, and they limit how many people you could have.
Yeah.
You could only have 25, and she had
150.
120. There are people all over. They're like, she got fined, disciplined. I don't know if they can. This is one thing we should look into. Can you be evicted?
I don't think they can evict you, but they can slap some major fines on you. So when you have a limit of 25, I would suggest having a St. Patrick's Day party of 150.
Yeah, use the party room.
Use the party room, right?
the
And the bigger
pool
buildings
deck.
use the party room. And they might have restrictions too on alcohol things because they're not designated for that. So you got to look into that.
Definitely crack.
Huh? You're so wrong. Another thing is, with the Airbnbs and, people, I hear this on the radio all the time. When you're out of town, rent your place, because you're out of town.
Yes.
So why not? There are temporary rental rules. There's
Shared
late
housing.
fees that are due.
Sure.
There's, as John said, look out for the secret rule changes that you don't know about. Those are
Well,
huge.
I didn't know this is a thing, but in some of these it's probably the smaller condo associations, people just do things. like
They
expect
move
you-
things, they do things.
do
And when you
things.
have those common, like where the storage is, and then they
Common area
have like,
storage units. Yeah.
all of a sudden someone puts their bike down there, right? And
Yeah.
then
Oh,
six
that's
more
a big.
people
It's a big thing.
put their bikes down
If
there.
there's no bike storage. Look for bike storage because it is critical.
It
if you wanna
is,
ride
but
your
then
bike.
there's no rule. I sold a condo actually in Roscoe Village, and on this floor was a room. And it was a room, but no one knew what the room was. Like, you could put your stuff in there, but you couldn't put like valuable stuff. But everyone had a key to the room, but there's no designation of who was
For
on
what
what
the room-
shelf and
right.
what the rooms, and nowhere was it written, and it was
Oh.
only on the third and fourth floor.
I have a better one. So I was working on a deal. There's a commercial condo, and they listed 2 parking spaces, but nobody knew where they were. We had to go back like historical documentation and track down parking spaces, literally.
So
And we
you
ended up
find 'em?
finding 3. We found 3,
Oh wow!
but 2 were marked. One was really an oversized one that you could fit a second car into, but nobody had deeded it. So, but we went to the condo association. Like, we don't know.
we
We
don't know.
where it is. We don't. I'm like, are you guys kidding me? I was like, what's happening here? The people that own the condo would not look for it, would not find it, would not tell us, and the broker refused to tell us where it was. Which that's a terrible broker, by the way.
That is a terrible.
That's a
broker.
whole other ball wax. They were terrible.
There are so many.
terrible broker.
You know, I think with condos too, like if you work with a good lender, they really I'm talking residential. I have a great lender, and he really did his due diligence to make sure that the deal it goes well. I mean, you have to understand that you can't play stupid. I think that's the biggest thing with condos. Don't say, "Oh, I didn't know." Well, you better get your documents ahead of time. You better look into the reserves before you move in, before you buy this place, because it's being passive and being like, just using that old adage, stupid, is not going to work out for
No,
you.
look, you don't want to be unhappy. You're going to pay
No.
$300,000 for a condo in Chicago, probably.
No,
So why be miserable? Spend
Right.
the time, review the document, pay somebody to review it if you're not going to do it, and get it done. And don't move into a place that's going to constrict you. If you're just out of college and you want to throw parties, move into an apartment, not in a condo building.
Go to Wrigleyville.
Go to Wrigleyville. Go to somewhere
Make
else,
sure it has a
Jefferson Park.
rooftop. You can hang from the chandeliers,
Yeah.
and
But honestly, don't
Yeah.
get tied into this. It's a serious thing.
but in
we're
rentals
joking about
there's restrictions too. So don't think.
Well,
that
that's true, but they're much more loosey goosey, and you could reason with the president. I'm sorry, you could like my tenant could ask me, "I want to throw a party." Knock yourself out. Just don't be an idiot. Don't burn the place down. That's all I need to hear. But if you go to a condo association, Ethel and Steve are gonna be really concerned
Yeah,
because there's a holiday coming up that they want to. Who knows?
they want to make sure. So
So
another
just
thing is, if
understand what
you're
you're getting
buying
into.
this condo for an investment, that's one of the things that I look at with my clients to make sure, like, how long do you plan on living here? What's your end game? Because if you buy a condo that you can't rent it out for 2 or 3 years, you got to know that ahead of time. So your end game can't be, I want to, turn around and buy a house in a year.
Yeah.
Well, you can't rent this out for 2 or 3 years. So is this the right condo for you? That kind of thing. And really understanding and explaining that. We touched on a lot of the rules and regulations that are associated, and understanding too. I think I want to touch on one thing with pets, because this is always a touchy thing with people. If you have emotional support animal within reason, a dog, a cat, a fish, a turtle, and that is documented, that's an emotional support animal, and you have the documentation, by law, no one can restrict you from having that pet in your condo. It is against federal law, and city and state law. And it's not only in your condo, in a restaurant, any kind of public space, because
But just have some class. Don't bring the turtle to a seafood restaurant. That's just cruel.
God.
Or
So
or a
wrong
dog
on
to a
every
Chinese
level.
restaurant?
So
Is
wrong.
that too much?
So wrong. But on a serious level, your emotional support animal, it cannot be, if someone says you cannot have that, if another condo association, condo owner tells you that, completely don't even get in an argument. That's for your attorney, because that is not true.
Yeah. All right. One more thing I'm going to say
Yeah.
on the condos. So, I represent a building. It's 140,000
Are you going to tell a good story
square
or a bad
feet.
story?
Cautionary tale, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So it's 3 stories of residential, 4, 5, and 6 are residential, and 1, 2, and 3 are commercial. Well, okay, that's very unique, but there are ones where the first floor is commercial and it's part of the 2 through 6.
Right.
And you're going to be impacted by what those businesses are down there. And you may have no control over them. So think about that. Think about your neighborhood. You know, you may not love tattoo parlors, but they may end up wanting a tattoo parlor there because they're going to pay the rent.
Right.
In my situation, my customer is stuck because, it's a 50-50 ownership split, really, between the commercial property and the residential. So just you got to watch out for those splits. You have to understand how they'll impact you.
Right.
If that commercial guy who owns 50% of it does a big shift to something, you are going along for the ride. You
Right.
have no choice.
Right.
So in those unique situations, again, think about it strongly. It may be no big deal. You could maybe mitigate it, or it may be a huge benefit. It's just something to think about. Cautionary tale.
I had and we'll go out on this one. I had a funny, someone was looking for a condo and it was above a restaurant or a bar. And the listing agent said, "Oh, you really can't hear the bar." I'm like, "Well, no, it's 4:00 in the afternoon, so of course you can't hear the
It's
bar
one
at
of those
4:00 in the
ethical
afternoon." So, he was
residential
not
realtors.
lying, because that's true. But at 12:00 at night, now is the bar a little bit more lively? I would say yes.
Yeah.
So,
You can mitigate those things too, and those all could be managed if the place is second to none and you want it.
Yeah.
There's ways to fix it. But now you're going to have to get in everybody's hair, and it's going to be a $50,000 expense because it's not
Right.
cheap. You're going to have to dig into ceilings and remove stuff. So, yeah, look out for that.
look
Pay
out for
attention
that.
to it.
Just,
Consider it
don't ask
seriously.
a question at 4:00 in the afternoon that is not pertinent to 2:00.
Situational awareness is what we
Yeah.
call that.
So some of the tools that I'm going to provide for you is the sample welcome email that John's so excited about.
Yes.
And then your
be a good
document reading checklist. So you have that, and you could really make sure that you go over it, you understand it. And if you
you
have any
think through.
questions, you can reach out to your condo board president and really clarify that.
Yeah. And any insights that we didn't cover, please let us know. Any things that you bumped into that we didn't think about. We'd love
Right.
to hear more stories. And then our next episode, our teaser for next week, we're going to be helping you shop for a mortgage without getting screwed.
Getting, what'd you say?
That's what it said.
Oh.
So, yep, we're busting myths and breaking down what lenders don't tell you so you can borrow smart and sleep easy. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. We'll see you next time on the Show Me How podcast. Have a great week.
Bye-bye.